Dreams die. Rely on yourself and no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing good. Um, Today's topic is going to be, I hope, helpful. Um, then again, I may not have the perspective that some do. And um, what you may hear, although it's biblical in terms of the wording, the process I'm going to give you is optional for you. I'm going to just give you something that I know for a fact 1,000,000% has worked for me. Um, what it has lent me the opportunity to do is learn a fair amount of patience. I know that sometimes people can think of me as not being a very patient person. Um, but that one aspect of me is a uh, an arduous process to get over. I don't think I'll ever be as patient as everyone else. But my level of tolerance and patience has gone exponentially high. if if people knew me from a year and a half ago, I have given up much ground to to God for that patience that I now possess. So there are two aspects to this waiting. One is patience, and the other is the one word that I asked everybody to contemplate for today. Did anyone figure out the one word that is going to hinge this entire conversation on? Anyone? What's that one word? I'm waiting for the answer from the audience. Drop the one word. I see it so far. I'm going to bring up a few of them options. Let me see this one. This is 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 one. The word in question is trust. The word in question is trust. You see, he gives us many examples of what waiting entails. While waiting entails a little bit of patience on our part, that patience can only be produced if we actually trust him for the result that he knows we need. There are myriads of verses that have to do with waiting. In Psalms, there's wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for the Lord. Psalms again, I will wait for the Lord. My soul does wait, and in his word I do hope. Psalms is filled with the word waiting. Okay? Lamentations, the Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the person who seeks him. Micah, but as for me, I will watch expectantly for the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. Isaiah, yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up like wings like eagles, and they will run and not get tired and walk and not become weary. There are tons of verses that mention waiting. They all mention waiting. 98% of our problem with waiting, whether we'd like to admit it or not, is trust. We lack trust in the person we called God. When you don't trust that he will do his will, not yours, his, you will have zero ability to wait. Because technically, trust is what develops your patience. If my child knows that I told him, hey, we're going to the park tomorrow, his level of patience reflects his level of trust that I will actually take him. Take, for instance, a couple of times I told my 7-year old, hey, we're going to the park, or we may be going to the park later today. And almost 9 times he'll come back and ask, you remember we're going to the park? I said, yes. Remember we're going to the park? We're going to the park. So when we went to the park and came back home, and I told him the next day, hey, tomorrow we'll go to the park, his questioning of whether we're going to the park became less. Didn't stop asking. He didn't ask 9 times. He asked about 3. We went to the park the following day. We came home. And I told him, hey, Saturday we'll go to the park. And he said, yay, we'll go to the park Saturday. Saturday comes along. He didn't ask me Friday. We're going to the park. He stopped asking. The reason he stopped asking was that his trust got developed because he saw results. Okay? He saw that when I said, I'm going to the park with you, Dad's really going to the park with me. I can trust that when he says, we're going to the park, we'll go to the park. His questioning stopped because his trust was increased. Your Father, God, set up a method by which you could be relieved of your status of illegitimacy before Him without you asking for it, saved you, and set you on a path of righteousness. He did what no one else could do. So when He tells you that He's going to be doing something His way, and do you realize that what He did before His way worked out to your benefit? Trust should be your go to. But we don't. We don't trust Him. My recent situation as to whether or not the channel was going to continue and all that stuff was a very good test in whether or not I trusted God. Now, mind you, I didn't um, some people should not be paid for anything. I swear they shouldn't be paid for anything. I encountered a slight issue um, on my end of the world. And many people have encountered the same issue throughout their life. or some are in it currently. You kick the can down the road, hoping that something's going to break. Okay. So you won't have to be kicking the can anymore. And before too long, you've kicked the can to the end. But damn, it's done. No more can, no more road. You can't kick anymore. You have to reckon. So when I encountered that no more kicking can thing, the unfortunate result was that my first inclination was to revert to my way by finding something that I can do to resolve the issue. Ironically, though, he had done enough that I didn't fully give in to that hope, that decision making process of doing things my own way. It popped up. I took the first step by announcing I have to make some adjustments. And then I had to stop and wait because while my stressor might be really on top of me and the things that were pending were huge, and I mean huge, they're still huge. It's still there. Still don't know how anything is going to work out. No, no idea. But what he did manage to get through to me is I still got you. You may not like the way got you looks, but I still have you. The instant I gave up the control of trying to figure something out, everything started to move. Not to my speed, mind you, not to my speed, his speed, because his speed is still in an attempt to foster my patience. My patience can only be fostered if there's something to trust. My trusting is always pushed to the limit with hardship. When hardship comes, trust has to be implemented and patience can be forged. But we don't like that second step. We want to go from hardship to patience. You can't go to patience if you lack trust. Trust either exists or it doesn't exist. He asks you to trust him. But what we don't like to, we want him to move at our speed, at our pace, with our desires, with what we asked for. We want him to move with our results, or we need to have him answer the way we want him to answer in the manner we would like to solidify for us a reason to trust him. Do we need more reasons to trust God? Here's my question to you then. If you lack trust in God, what would it take for him to do for you to have trust in him? I mean, unequivocal trust. What does he need to do for you to say, I trust him? And be honest with yourself, okay? Just for a minute, put down the platitudes, um, put down the church sayings. How much, how much do you actually want him to do before you can say, I trust God fully? And I mean fully, to the point where you will literally do nothing and let him do everything. How much does he need to do? What do you need to see him perform? What do you need to see him step out of the normal? Because it seems as though the majority of believers need something extra. They need a sign, they need a miracle, they need a movement of God, These charismatic churches that say a move of God is coming. A move of God already came. Um, a move of God already came, and it was a big move. It wasn't a hell conquering move. It was a death conquering move. It was a rip the keys of death and hell kind of move. It was a curtain rending, holy of holies entering move. What what more move do you need the man to do? What what else does God need to do for you to trust the who of what the who, not the what, the who. What does he need to do for you to trust who he is? You know, today, in these days, mankind has tried their best to usurpate the role of God, either by showing that they can do something equal or say that they're doing something better. Kind of like when Moses went before Pharaoh, the same thing. Mankind will try to combat what God did and say, look, I can do it too. Trust us. We know what we're doing. Trust the science. Trust man. What has God really done for you? How can you be sure that he actually died on the cross? How can you be sure of this and how can you be sure of that? And a lot of us say that we genuinely believe. When he asks you to have faith, and then he defines faith as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, why are we constantly looking for something to see? Knowledge of God isn't based on seeing. I didn't see him hang on the cross. I didn't see him rise. I didn't see the curtain tear. I didn't see dead men walking. But what I do know is what he has done to transform who I was into who I am. And I know that I could not have done that. So, which is why I don't try to coerce anybody to try and believe in God. If you don't believe in God, then don't believe in God. That's up to you. I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm telling you, this is who he is. Follow or don't follow. Follow or don't follow. I'm not going to beat anybody over the head. I'm not going to try and ram it down their throat. To be without excuse means that you know. Okay. Not that you once believed and then you'd stop walking or that you have to believe in order to be absolved. Knowing is just hearing it. Now you're without excuse. You can't say you didn't know. You can definitely say you ignored, but you can't ever say you didn't know. You could say that it made no sense, but you can't say you didn't know. You can say it sounded like a lie, but you can't say you didn't know. My only job is to present it to you and present it only. Since I don't save you, and I don't change your heart, I'm not going to try to do either, either by fear or by coercion. It's not going to happen. I'll tell you what it is. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. If you believe it, perfect. Good. If you follow him, good. If you don't, don't. Ain't no skin off of my back. It really isn't. I know who I believed and I'm persuaded that he is risen. I know that. So you don't have to. But when I say I wait, I know of whom I'm waiting on. If things aren't going right or something is a stressor, life is hard, I'm in the middle of some dire need. People have said, you should reach out to people for help. And I understand where that comes from. I understand that people want to lend a hand, people want to be a vessel of help. But unless I'm told to reach out to somebody or to ask for something, I normally don't. The other thing is, if I do trust God, then He will send someone to ask me what help I need. If He's trying to use someone else, He'll either put them on my heart to approach them, or He'll put it on their hearts to approach me. Um, he said that no one will be with excuse. That's what He said. However, He pulls that off. He pulls that off. He said it. That, hey, look, you won't have a reason to say I didn't know. That's what He said. So if He says that no one will have an excuse, no one will have an excuse. Um, I I don't know how else to. I don't know how God does what He does, gets the message to who He wants to get it to. Look, if He can talk, if He can connect the eunuch with Philip, just, if he could connect the eunuch with Philip, go on the road. This dude is just in his cart, just sitting there. Where? Just go to that road right there, and you'll find him. What? Yeah, just go ahead on that road. You'll find a guy. Talk to him. Tell him, and you'll be good to go. He just connected those two, just out of the blue. Nobody's going to be with an excuse. However, he pulls that off. He pulls that off. If that means a big jumbotron falls across the whole face of the earth, and everyone can see that the gospel is this, da da da, and everyone can listen to it in their own language, I'm sure he'll pull something off. He managed the cross. He managed the cross through hundreds and hundreds of years of prophecy. He managed the cross. So I don't need to worry about how he's going to get people to hear. I just know he's going to get people to hear, and they'll be without excuse. I'm waiting on him to do that. But when I say I'm going to wait on him, it has to start with me knowing that there's something to wait on, and that's his judgment and moving. And it may not be the answer I want, but it will be the answer that he wants. I may not like it. I don't have to like it. I have to love him, and what his way is the right way. Like this situation I keep bringing up that was forcing my hand. It's no longer that case, by the way. He set certain things up that I don't need to necessarily stress right now, nor should I ever really. But in terms of my human nature, it won't be popping its head up. Every time I needed something, it's ironic that it would show up. I'll give you a small example. With this prior situation, my stress first kicked in, and then he said, "Don't stress. Look here." I looked there. He set something up there. He said, "Now look there." I looked there. He set something up there. And then he set something up that I did not ask or he didn't tell me to look for at all. I just went to do what I normally do. I opened up this little hole in the wall, and there was an answer. I didn't ask him for it. I didn't assume that that was going to happen. It just happens because I stopped trying. I just waited. And waiting is the most difficult thing you can do if you don't trust. Because what'll step into your mind first is God helps those who helps themselves. And it's not even biblical, but that's what'll step into your head. He doesn't want me to just sit down and do nothing. Surely he wants me to do something. Surely? When you ask a dog to sit and wait, do you expect the dog to get up and follow you? No. You expect the dog to sit and wait. When you ask a child to wait right here, I'll be right back. You don't expect the child to follow you to the kitchen and say, "What do you need help with?" I'm pretty sure I told you to sit and wait. Yes, mom. Go sit and wait. We have a problem doing that. If you know somebody that has a problem doing that, it's because their lack of trust is strong. Their lack of trust is strong. You know, while we know God is the most patient and he's waiting for the time to reach its fullness, and we here are also waiting, anticipating his return. Our biggest obstacle will be looking at the times and constantly asking him to show up. We have a patience level in what we want. We have a patience level with our kids. We have a patience level with our spouses, with our work. But I think we are actually developing a patience issue with his return. We are probably lacking trust of his timing by keep and constantly asking him to come back now, come back now. He will come back in the fullness of time. I can tell you, I can answer you from my perspective, Jay. I have audibly heard a voice before. I have audibly heard a voice. And then I have also had a thought drop into my mind. And while I can attribute that to, oh, that's just your logical thinking, this is how I normally decipher whether or not it's him. And this is part of knowing yourself apart from him. I know that there are tons of things I want, and I know the reasons I want them for. But I also know God. I know his character. I know his personage. I know him. Whenever what I want seems to just come out of the blue and present itself as an option, I never take it. Why? I can't trust that. So I wait. What normally happens is if it's not of him, it dissipates. And if it is of him, it reiterates. That's my very first inclination that I know he's talking. The other part is that he would have other people reach out and say the exact same thing in an affirmation and confirmation kind of way. But I could never go wrong waiting. I have not yet been gone wrong waiting. Like literally just waiting on a confirmation type thing. I've never gone wrong with that. Either by confirmation or by simply just waiting till he outright does it. Take my back, for instance, okay? Those of you who were here some time ago remember that I constantly had a back pain and my body was falling apart. And I was constantly stressing about it. And I got many words from people that asked me to take it to God to have him heal me and that he can heal. I have no doubt that God can heal. But I also know that he also uses me in a different way than most. Not for other people, but he will talk to me differently. My problem has always been stepping ahead of him. And what many people don't know is that because my problem has always been stepping ahead of him, when people say, ask him to heal you, I do that. And then my first inclination is to try and find a way to relieve the pain. I just know me. So I asked him once, and that was it. I'm not asking him again. He knows what level of pain I have. He knows how much it bugs me, and he knows what he asked me to do. He also knows that with a large amount of pain, sometimes I have the tendency to let the harder things go and do the easier thing. He called me specifically to this task. I know that without a doubt. When he called me to do this task, I had the option of either doing it, whether I was failing physically or not. And the test was for me to do it in spite of. He walked to the hill after being flogged. He walked to the hill with his ribs exposed, his back shredded, bleeding everywhere. That's why I don't ask for healing. That's why I don't ask for healing more than once. If If Jesus did that for me, a migraine and back pain should not keep me from my calling. That revelation did not come because I wanted it to come. That's him speaking. There were tons of times, I'm going to tell you now, that I wanted to quit. I wanted to just stop because my headaches were bad. They were painful. My back pain was incessant. Couldn't sleep, couldn't walk. I was taking a nap every day. The wife would ask me, "Why are you still trying to do a show when you have a migraine and your back is hurting you like that? Why would you still go downstairs and do a show?" Because he told me to. He told me to. If he didn't let the flogging keep him from saving me, the least I can do is do what he asked me to do, regardless of pain. How do you know if it's God talking to you? He will usually ask you to do the hard thing first. He will usually ask you to do the one thing that you don't think you either can do or want to do. That's how you know. The biggest way to ensure it is to open that line of communication. To establish that trust, you have to have communication, you have to have a relationship. You cannot do this on your own volition. It's not going to work. The same way my son now trusts me when I say we're going to the park because he's seen me fulfill my word. And that's just a trivial matter. When God said, I will save you, and he put things in place to save you, and he actually saves you, anything past that, anything that he requires of you past that, should have no problem with you trusting him for. None. Anything he says should be trustworthy. Any situation you're in, you should be able to trust him to handle. After him saving you from hell, you should have no other requirement of him to show himself. You should just have trust. If you have come to Christ looking for something extra, you have not come to Christ. You've come to yourself hoping that you can get what you want. If you think you go to church so you can get a blessing, if you give enough, you have not come to God. And you don't trust him because you don't know him. Without trust, you can't get patience and you can't wait. Oh, trust me, Carrie, I no longer have migraines. I no longer have migraines, and I don't. I don't have back pain. My lower back used to be absolutely on fire. I went to get MRIs, everything. And I did not ask him for a thing. I didn't. You know why I didn't? He knows my pain. He knows, and he knows his timing. He knows what the pain was trying to produce. When he sent out the 12 to spread the word, and he said, when you get to a place, don't make yourself at home there. Whoever accepts you, take their hospitality, but if they don't, dust your feet off. He was sending them with nothing. He sent them with nothing to just traverse the earth with nothing. They had to trust him that he prepared something ahead of time for them. They had to trust him ahead of time that he would set things in motion because they had nothing else to go on. That's what he's causing and calling us to do. He's calling us to do exactly that. Wait. Trust me to prep things first. You encounter a problem, trust me. You encounter an issue, trust me. You have a problematic time handling something, trust me. You're lacking something, trust me. Every bit of life is trust. All of it. Your children having a problem, trust him. And by trusting him, you mean that you wait for him to do what he's got to do in his time. And you're not waiting on the Lord for a blessing. You're waiting on him to do what he wants to do. We have this tendency to want to have him do something miraculous on behalf or for us because we revolve around us. We. It's not. It's him, 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 him. What we are waiting for him to do is to move for him in our life. Not in our life for us, for him in our life. You don't want to wait? Maybe you don't trust. And if you don't trust, maybe you might want to find out why. So ask yourself, what does he need to do more for you to trust him? You want to mount up with wings like an eagle? You have to trust him for him to give you those. You have to wait. Patience, wait. Just remember who you're waiting on. Remember who you're waiting on, not what, who. You are waiting on the eternal Father to do what the eternal Father sees fit to have you see him more clearly. You are waiting on the eternal Father to do what he deems fit for you to see him more clearly. So wait, simply wait. Do absolutely nothing because he doesn't need you to do anything. Once he eggs you to do something, then do it. But if you didn't get anything, don't. Don't try and manufacture a response. Just don't do it. Just wait. When you ain't got nothing to do, do nothing. It's really that simple. With your mouth, Tiffany, with your mouth. Might sound very trivial. Here's a good way to start. Okay, here's a really good way. I know many people say, just read a couple of verses and blah blah blah. That's yeah, you could. I will give you what I've found to be the most direct way to open a line of communication. Now, I've been saying for a long time that truth is truth regardless of how we feel. God is God regardless of what I believe or not. He has certain characteristics that I can't change, and nor can he. And I found that the best way to communicate and open that line is to speak what is true about him, not what he's done, just true about him. Him. Say what is true about him. That's exactly what David did. Throughout the Psalms, all he ever really did was proclaim who God was. You are strong, you are mighty, you are my strength in time of trouble. You are perfect. You're all knowing, you're ever present, you're the creator of all. You are love, you are judgment. You speak the things that are true of him. You are holy, you are worthy of praise, you're worthy of worship. You are the Alpha, you are the Omega. You are the beginning, you are the end. You're all encompassing. You hem me in and behind and before. You know everything about me. You are all. You begin to declare who he is, and you'll be amazed at how quickly you step in front of the throne. You provided salvation for your people. You are seated above all else. There is no one else above you. You are the way. When you start to really speak of who he is and repeat it, it doesn't even have to be a very long list, although the list is long. Speak what is true about him. Eventually you start to forget that you had a problem because you're not focused on asking for the solution. You're focused on the solution, which is him. And when you've focused everything you have on who he is, the problem will take care of itself because he is a problem solver. That's his job. My job is to focus on him. Like a kid who doesn't want his pamper changed, even though he knows in dire straits and it needs to be changed. And some kids, they like to scream when you do that, and the dad will come distract the kid to focus on something else while the mother changes, or vice versa. Our job is to focus on something and forget the problem. He's got the problem. Just focus. Say what's true about him. Say it over and over. Let him deal with the rest. He is capable, quite capable, and he wants to. He is capable and he wants to. Tomorrow, can our prayers change God's mind? So I was asked to speak about that, so we will. Can our prayers change God's mind? Okay, so we'll talk about that. Again, scrolling below, options for whoever, whenever, however, if ever. Those are your options there. Write it down if you need to, or don't if you don't have to. But it does help with the mission of what he set me on, whatever that mission is. Um, so there, I did my portion. If you have an email that you want to send, here is that email address scrolling across the bottom. If you have something to send via mail, here's the P.O. box. Feel free to send it there. You can send packages as well. There is a second line of address that you have to put in, and that's on my YouTube channel's about section. You'll find that extra address that you need to type in there. Okay. So be sure that you write that down, then go to the YouTube page to get the rest of the info. You guys have a grand rest of the day. We'll be back with the Savage Patriots. Today we have a special guest. This individual I interviewed some time ago on my first YouTube channel. And he's very familiar with MK Ultra and the devices that the government will use to try and manipulate our minds. Just look at your phone, you'll understand what I mean. So he'll be on today to talk to us about that. So you don't want to miss that at all. He's quite versed and has a lot of stories to tell about what happened to him. Thank you, Armida. And then the mix, of course, tonight as well. So we will see you guys on those shows. Thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate your time and whatever you guys do to either prayer or by donations and all that stuff. Thank you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't, but make sure you like and share. Comment too. Even if it's just a heart, an emoji, something, comment, statement, questions. I read through all of them. I do look forward to your interactions. So we'll see you guys at 6:30 for the Savage Patriots and the MK Ultra episode. Until then, wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight, dreams, for if dreams die.